Hi, everyone. This is a brief overview to Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is the chapter in which you are introduced to the three major perspectives in sociology. They are the functionalist perspective, the conflict perspective, and the symbolic interactionist perspective. And you can think about each of these perspectives as being a different pair of glasses, maybe different sunglasses with different colors in the lenses. So when you put on the functionalist pair of glasses, maybe that has blue lenses and everything. I'm thinking about the cheap lenses here, not the the better ones that are polarized. But if you buy a pair of cheap sunglasses with blue lenses, when you put those on, everything's going to have a slightly blue tinge to it. And so when you are looking at society, when you're analyzing society from the functionalist perspective, you're going to be considering, as do functionalist theorists, what is it about the thing that you're studying, whether it's family or culture or healthcare, could be anything. What is it about that thing that you're analyzing that is beneficial? That has a purpose for society. Because you see, functionalist theorists strongly believe that if something exists in society, it exists for a reason. So if we think about, for example, why do politics exist? Well, functionalist theorists would likely make the argument that we have a political system in the United States because we needed an ordered way in which to fill various roles within a democracy, within our government. And so we created a political system. If you think about, why do we have schools? Well, from a functionalist perspective, we have schools because they serve a purpose. They serve very important needs for society. And so for functionalist theorists, they're always looking for why does something exist in a society? And if it does exist, it must exist because there's a purpose or some type of benefit. On the other hand, conflict theorists, conflict theory is a newer theory. You can think of it as an umbrella under which other theories go. Conflict theory is newer, didn't really get its start until the early 60s, going through the 70s, but now it is a fairly well evolved perspective. And sociologists use these three terms interchangeably: perspectives, theories, and paradigms. I tend to say perspective because it's a way of looking at society, it's a way of analyzing society. And conflict theory is largely based on Karl Marx's ideas. If you know anything about Karl Marx, you know that he was very critical of capitalism and of the capitalists, or the people that he called the bourgeoisie. And so for conflict theorists, their major focus is looking at who has the power and how do those people use their power to advantage themselves, which of course means that disadvantages others. So if we're thinking about school, say, schools K through 12, our K through 12 educational system, a conflict theorist would be looking at the idea of who are schools created for, and what purposes did schools evolve to serve, and are those services still being provided to the same people that they were created for? And the answer, of course, is no. Because K through 12 systems were never created to serve the numbers of students of color that we see in America's large school systems today. On the other hand, a functionalist theorist would argue, well, schools were created because they serve these great functions. They teach knowledge and understanding and good citizenship, etc. But conflict theorists would be looking at, well, what's not working so well in our educational systems? How do people who have power create educational system? How do they create the educational system to benefit themselves and to disadvantage others? And then the other major perspective is symbolic interactionist perspective. And symbolic interactionist perspective is considered to be a micro perspective The other two are macro perspectives, meaning that they look at society from a very large view, whereas the micro perspective of symbolic interactionism is really focused on those minute interactions between and among us. And so for symbolic interactionist theorists, they try to understand why we interact the way that we do. So if we're thinking about schools, for example, a symbolic interactionist theorist would try to understand how do teachers interact with students, and how do students interact with their teachers, and do teachers interact differently, say, with male students than they do with female students, and how do administrators in K through 12 schools interact with the teachers, and is that different from the way that administrators interact with one another? Similarly, one could study how do teachers interact with each other, because we know that that has to be different than the way that, of course, that they interact with their students and the way they interact with administrators. So you can see that even just trying to study the K through 12 system in the United States can be analyzed from these three very different views. And that's why in every chapter we analyze the thing that we're studying, whether it's culture or healthcare or politics or family, etc., from all three perspectives, because it's best to use all three perspectives so you can get a more full understanding of society. And so you'll also be introduced to some of the major sociological thinkers. Some of them, of course, are long dead. Some of them are more contemporary. But it's a really good introduction. I encourage you to read the chapter carefully because it's important to have a really good understanding of the three perspectives so that as we move through the rest of the chapter, you'll be able to follow it better. So that's it for the chapter 1 overview, and I will see you for the chapter 3 overview. Bye.